Hello, and welcome to another Certifiably Ingame Cultural Index. In the Halo universe, the Covenant is perhaps humanity's greatest threat, and it's certainly the one that has done the most damage. Presiding over this hegemony are the SHYUUM, the Prophets, and they wield their religious devotion of their followers as a weapon. To talk about the SHYUUM is to talk about the Covenant itself, as it's their culture and beliefs that permeate every section of society. Almost every SHYUUM retains a position of power, and of the 400 High Council members, 200 are prophets, and the other half are Sangheili. This ruling body was established after the war between the two ended in a stalemate, and although stable now, lingering tensions still remain. At the head of the High Council there are hierarchs, 3 prophets whose decree was law. They maintain this position by securing the study of Forerunner artifacts and reverse engineering technologies from them. Successes include most of their achievements in stellar travel, hard light constructs, and longer lifespans. The only thing that seems to elude them is the production of artificial intelligence. As mentioned, the Covenant is as much a religious organisation as it is a political alliance. The single belief that salvation of all life can be achieved by retracing the steps of an ancient race, the Forerunners. The primary directive states that the Halo Array, a network of Forerunner ring worlds, are the beginnings of a great journey. They are to emit a great wind that will sweep the worthy to their new life as gods. Those who do not believe will be left behind, forever denied the afterlife and the deific status that the Forerunners achieved. It can be noted that the fervour with which the SHYUUM believe this may be in some way related to the decline in numbers of their species. It is likely that on some level, desperation to ascend the mortal form is what drives their belief, the salvation of the spirit to save themselves. Covenant politics are complex, and despite what the UNSC would like to portray, there are several differing interpretations of the Great Journey prophecy. For example, there are the Governors of Contradiction, whose belief is that all of the creations of the Forerunners are holy and as such should not be interfered with, including the false belief that the Flood were a Forerunner design. These viewpoints are still incorporated into Covenant society and culture, presenting a wider range of beliefs and practices than perhaps first thought, although all core beliefs are rallied around the notion of the Great Journey and worship of Forerunner design. The homeworld of the SHYUUM, Yanjar, is somewhat of a contested subject. According to Covenant records, it was a Forerunner colony world, which explains their early cultivation of interstellar travel and knowledge of the complexity of Forerunner designs. They have had millennia to study and practice their craft, reverse engineering and learning from the relics. Their biggest discovery was a Forerunner dreadnought on their homeworld. How it got there is a story for another time, but its place in the culture was paramount. 2 factions, the Reformists and the Stoics, fought over the differing views of the technology, and in short, the Reformists left Yanjar in the dreadnought, seeking to use its power, and the Stoics remained behind. Supposedly, they were destroyed when Yanjar itself was ravaged by a supernova. The surviving SHYUUM used this as propaganda and as further legitimization of their beliefs, that utilising the Forerunner technology is following the path of the Forerunners intended for them. The location and status of their homeworld is actually up for debate, as although they claim it has been destroyed by the supernova, further verification by other races has been impossible, leaving only reference for it as the word of mouth from zealous prophets. Either way, High Charity functions as their new homeworld, with the Forerunner dreadnought sitting at its core. The dreadnought itself is illuminated for all to see, and views of it are unobstructed, a direct display of the reverence of technology that uplifted them from their homeworld. Day-to-day life for the SHYUUM include religious devotion to the Forerunners through prayer and sermon, followed by study of their artifacts. As mentioned, most were seated in positions of power among the Covenant, so most decisions required their attendance and oversight. It must be noted that with the level of authority that came to being a prophet, a SHYUUM was expected to maintain a level of religious devotion and project an air of composure at all times. The prophets too shared the same naming convention as us humans, a family name and a given name, but these were often second place to their official title. They adopted names from a list of titles once owned by previous SHYUUM: Prophet of Truth, Prophet of Concession, Prophet of Mercy, and so on. Because of their status as an endangered species, the SHYUUM strictly regulate their gene pool to avoid the proliferation of unwanted traits. In order for this to work, each SHYUUM must have their genome mapped from a young age, and if potential genetic defects are found, they are placed on the roll of celibate, a list whose function is exactly as it sounds. SHYUUM females have a relatively short fertility window that would likely not have been a problem back on their home planet, and seem to adhere to the species-wide cycle. This means births of SHYUUM often occur in waves, albeit very far apart. This time is celebrated with the birthing period, and although it's hard to imagine, this time is often celebrated with fireworks, garlands, parades, and general station-wide festivities. Physically, they are all very frail, as they hail from a lower gravity environment than all other Covenant species, but this is compounded by the use of anti-gravity devices for mobility, and decades of relying on technologies to fulfill their needs. But what does it matter? Their great journey will transcend their mortality. Their entire culture focuses around the devotion of the Forerunners, and although their level may differ from individual to individual, their pious nature paints the image of an often arrogant species bound to millennia of tradition. With the destruction of High Charity, only about 1,000 SHYUUM are currently left, and with the Covenant splintered, who knows what's become of them? Perhaps their homeworld still exists. If so, maybe there is future for them as a species. Thanks for watching. The next index choices are either going to be the Ferengi from Star Trek, or the Ice Warriors from the Doctor Who universe. You choose in the comments below, and until next time, I've been Tyr. Thanks again for watching.